The silence of the engine felt like a slap in the face to Marina Albright. Stuck right there in the middle of Brigadeiro Faria Lima Avenue, with São Paulo's chaotic traffic honking all around her, Marina felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Complete helplessness. Her imported silver gleaming BMW, that ultimate symbol of everything she had achieved on her own, had just died. Not a strange rumble, not a blinking light on the dashboard. It just died. Marina squeezed her eyes shut, took a deep breath and called for a tow truck. 38 years old, CEO of her own, business consulting firm, 2 international master's degrees, and there she was being towed like a rookie who forgot to fill up the tank. The irony was bitter. 3 weeks later, the irony had turned into a nightmare. Marina sat in her conference room, staring at a stack of 8 technical reports that formed a tower of frustration on the glass table. 8 different mechanics, 8 ridiculously expensive repair shops, all with international certifications hanging on the walls like trophies. 8 diagnoses that said exactly the same thing in different words: seized engine, irreparable, complete replacement necessary. 120,000 Brazilian reais. That's how much it would cost to bring the car back to life. Marina ran a hand through her dark hair, perfectly cut into a long bob that cost more than many people earned in a month. She wasn't one to waste money, but she wasn't one to give up either. The car was more than a vehicle, it was physical proof that she had won. Won against the ex-husband who doubted her, won against the investors who thought she was too young, won against every door slammed in her face. And now 8 experts were telling her it was impossible. The door to the room opened timidly. Lucy, her assistant of 3 years, walked in with that careful demeanor of someone about to tread on eggshells. "Marina, can I talk to you for a minute?" Marina gestured with her hand, not taking her eyes off the reports. "I know you've already consulted the best," Lucy began, wringing her hands, "and I know this is going to sound crazy, but my cousin had a similar problem with her car a few months ago, an Audi that no one could fix." Marina finally looked up, one eyebrow arched. "And she took it to a mechanic near where she lives, East Side. An older gentleman, you know? Much older. His shop is tiny, nothing fancy. But he fixed it in 3 days, charged her 300 reais. Marina let out a dry laugh. "Lucy, 8 experts with state-of-the-art equipment failed. You want me to take my BMW to a shop on the East Side?" "I know how it sounds, Marina, but my cousin swears the man is a genius. They say he has a different way of working, that he doesn't follow the manuals like everyone else, that he truly understands cars." Marina massaged her temples. 3 weeks using Uber for meetings, 3 weeks listening to the same technical excuses, 3 weeks feeling defeated by a piece of metal and circuits. "What's his name?" "Sebastião, but everyone calls him Seu Tião." Marina looked out the 15th floor window at the city she had conquered inch by inch. She had built an empire based on data, analysis, and logical decisions. And now she was considering taking her $60,000 car to an unknown mechanic in a neighborhood shop because she literally had no other options. "Fine," Marina sighed. "Send me the address, but if this doesn't work, I'm selling this damn car for parts." 2 days later, Marina stood in front of Tião's auto shop, located on a narrow street in Guaianazes. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Her Italian-tailored suit, her designer handbag, her imported high heels, all of it looked absurdly out of place in this part of São Paulo she rarely visited. The shop was small but surprisingly organized. No parts scattered on the floor or grease-stained walls. Tools were hung in order of size. The concrete floor was clean, and in the back, leaning over the hood of an old car, was a gray-haired man wearing impeccably clean blue overalls. He turned when he heard Marina's heels echoing on the concrete. "Seu Tião?" Marina asked, extending her hand politely. The mechanic wiped his hands on a red rag before shaking hers. His eyes were kind but penetrating. He must have been 60, maybe older. Deep wrinkles marked his face, but they didn't make him look old, just experienced. "You must be Lucy's friend, the BMW, right?" Marina blinked. She hadn't mentioned the car model. "How did you know?" Seu Tião gave a small smile. "Lucy called me. And besides, ma'am, with all due respect, I can tell by how tense you are. Luxury cars have that effect on people. They get attached. Marina felt her defenses being disarmed by that simple, direct observation. 8 mechanics said it's impossible to fix, that the engine is seized beyond repair. Sutiao nodded, showing neither surprise nor arrogance. Did you bring their reports? Marina pulled a leather folder from her bag. 8 detailed reports, each with colorful graphs and incomprehensible technical terms. Sutiao looked at the folder, but made no move to take it. I'd rather not see them. Marina frowned. Why? Because if I read what they thought, I'll end up thinking the same thing. I prefer to see with my own eyes, hear with my own ears. Marina opened her mouth to protest, to argue that these were certified experts with decades of combined experience, but something in Sutiao's absolute calm made her stop. How much time do you need? 3 days. 3 days! The others took 3 hours just for the diagnosis. Yeah, and they all ended up in the same place, didn't they? Sutiao crossed his arms. Ma'am, I'm not going to plug in a computer and wait for it to tell me what's wrong. I'm going to take this engine apart piece by piece. I'm going to look at every component. I'm going to listen to the story it has to tell. That sounds very poetic for mechanics. Sutiao shrugged. Maybe that's why I fix what others can't. Marina remained silent for a long moment. This was not a rational business decision. There were no spreadsheets, historical data, or guarantees. But something in the way Sutiao spoke, with that quiet confidence and without needing to prove himself, resonated with her. All right, she said. Send me the bill, but I need to know, how much will you charge if you can't fix it? Sutiao shook his head. Nothing. I only charge if I solve the problem. Marina felt a knot loosen in her chest. For the first time in 3 weeks, someone wasn't trying to take money from her before even touching the car. Okay, the car is outside with the tow truck. As the silver BMW was lowered into the small shop, Marina couldn't help but observe Sutiao. He circled the vehicle slowly, running his hand over the bodywork with the kind of care someone would have for a favorite horse. There was no disdain in his eyes for it being a luxury car, no envy, just professional respect. Do you have somewhere you need to be tomorrow morning? He asked, without taking his eyes off the car. I have meetings, but I can reschedule. Why? If you can stop by around 8 o'clock, I'll show you what I found. I don't promise a solution yet, but I promise an answer. Marina nodded, surprised by her own calmness. I'll be here. As she walked back to the waiting Uber, Marina looked back one last time. Sutiao already had the hood open and was leaning over the engine, a flashlight in his hand, completely absorbed. For the first time in weeks, Marina felt something akin to hope. But hope, she knew well, could also be the most dangerous thing of all. Marina arrived at Tiao's auto shop at exactly 8 the next morning, wearing jeans and a simple blouse. Something in her had shifted during the sleepless night. Maybe it was the exhaustion of 3 weeks of frustration, or maybe it was the way Sutiao talked, about cars as if they were living beings. But she had decided to trust him. When she entered the shop, she found Sutiao already working. He was surrounded by engine parts, each carefully arranged on a white cloth on the floor, like surgical instruments. Good morning, Marina said, her voice echoing in the quiet space. Sutiao looked up, wiping the grease from his hands. Miss Marina, you're right on time. I found the problem. Marina's heart sped up. Seized for real? Sutiao nodded, but there was something different in his eyes. It wasn't defeat. It was almost like satisfaction. Yes and no, let me show you something. He guided her to a workbench where a specific part was isolated. It looked like a small metallic component, nothing extraordinary to Marina's untrained eyes. This here, Sutiao explained, picking up the part carefully, is from the engine's timing system. See these marks here? He pointed with a thin tool. This isn't natural wear. It's a mark of incorrect installation. Marina leaned in to see better. Incorrect installation? Did you take this car in for a service check about 4 or 5 months ago? Marina thought for a moment. Then her eyes widened. 6 months at the official dealership, how do you know? Because this part was recently replaced. You can tell by the coloring. and it was put in with the wrong torque. Probably a rushed mechanic, a busy day, a 5-degree error that no one noticed. And that seized the entire engine? Marina was incredulous. Sotian smiled, but it was a sad smile. It's like a small lie that grows, ma'am. This wrong part forced other parts to work out of alignment. Over time, that created pressure where it shouldn't be, until everything locked up. Computers don't catch this because they look for big, obvious failures. They don't look for a human installation error. Marina felt a wave of contradictory emotions. Relief because there was a cause. Anger because it was so simple. Astonishment because 8 experts had missed it. How did the others not see it? Sotian carefully put the part away. Because they didn't take it apart, ma'am. They plugged in the computers, read the error codes, and the computers said, seized engine. End of story. No one went in with their hands, piece by piece, trying to understand why. And you can fix it? For the first time, Sotian genuinely laughed. It was a deep, comforting sound. I already did. I spent last night reassembling everything. I was just waiting for you to arrive to show you the culprit and start the engine for the first time. Marina felt tears prick her eyes and fought to hold them back. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of anguish, of feeling helpless, of considering giving up on something she loved. Sotian noticed and gently offered her a stool to sit on. Take a deep breath, ma'am. I know it's a lot of emotion. It's not just the car, Marina confessed, surprising herself with the honesty. When I got divorced 2 years ago, my ex-husband kept almost everything. The house, the joint savings. This car was the first big thing I bought on my own afterward, with my own money. It sounds silly, but it represents everything I rebuilt. Sotian nodded with understanding. It's not silly. The things we achieve on our own, after going through hardship, they're worth more than their price tag. They're worth what we suffered to get there. Marina looked at the man in the blue overalls and saw something she rarely found in her corporate world, genuine empathy without ulterior motives. Can I ask you something? Marina said. Why do you work this way? Taking everything apart manually, taking 3 days, when you could do it fast and charge more. Sotian leaned against the workbench, looking at the tools hanging on the wall. Because I learned from my father, who learned from his. Back then, there were no computers. You had to know every part, every sound, every smell. When modern machines arrived, everyone forgot that a car is made of physical parts that move. They started treating everything like computer code. They forgot to listen. Marina stood up, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Can I see the engine running? Sotian gestured for her to follow him to where the BMW was. The hood was still open, but everything was clean and reorganized. He picked up the key and looked at Marina. Would you like to do the honors? Marina took the key with trembling hands. She got into the car, adjusted the seat, took a deep breath, and turned the key. The engine roared to life with a smooth, constant sound she hadn't heard in weeks. The sound was perfect. No flaws, no strange noises, just the satisfied purr of a healthy engine. Marina covered her face with her hands and finally let the tears fall. They were tears of relief, gratitude, and validation. Sotian waited patiently beside the car, unhurried, comfortable with her emotion. When Marina finally composed herself and got out of the car, she wiped her face and asked the question she was afraid to ask. How much do I owe you? Sotian scratched his head, thoughtful. New part labor, 3 days of work, 2,500 reais. Marina blinked. She had prepared her card for at least 10,000. 2,500. Sotian, 8 mechanics charged between 3 and 5,000 just for the diagnosis. You solved the impossible in 3 days. But it wasn't impossible, Ms. Marina. It was just hard work. And my rent here is cheap. I don't have to keep up a fancy appearance. I can charge fairly. Marina opened her bag and took out an envelope she had prepared the night before. Inside were 5,000 reais in cash. Take it. It's less than you deserve, but it's what I can express right now. Sotian looked at the envelope, then at her. This is more than double, ma'am. And it's still less than 5% of what the others wanted to charge to replace the entire engine. Please accept it. You didn't just fix my car. You gave me back something I thought I had lost. What's that? Faith in people who do things right. not just fast. So Tiao accepted the envelope with a respectful nod. Marina stayed there for a few more minutes, watching him put away his tools with the same meticulous care he used for everything. There was something deeply comforting about that environment. No rush, no unnecessary noise, just work well done. "So Tiao," Marina began, hesitant, "can I ask why your shop isn't more well known? With your talent, you could be on Faria Lima charging 10 times more." He stopped arranging the tools and looked at her. "I could, but then I'd have to see more customers a day, work faster, hire people who might not care as much, and in the end, I wouldn't be me anymore. I'd just be another expensive shop. I prefer to be small and honest than big. And empty." Marina was silent, processing those words. In her world of accelerated growth and scalability, that philosophy was almost heretical, but it was also refreshingly authentic. "What if there was a way to grow without losing your soul?" Marina asked, her business mind already starting to work. So Tiao shrugged. "If there is, I don't know what it is." Marina smiled. "Maybe I do, but let's talk about that later. Right now, I just want to drive my car home." When Marina started the engine again to leave, she looked in the rearview mirror and saw So Tiao waving. It wasn't just a mechanic saying goodbye to a client. It was something deeper. It was mutual respect between two professionals who understood the value of a job well done. As she drove through the streets of São Paulo, listening to the engine purr perfectly, Marina had an epiphany. She had spent years building her consulting firm, teaching companies how to grow. But here was a man who had something no MBA could teach: absolute integrity and genuine mastery. And Marina Albright, business consultant, had just found her next project. Only this time it wouldn't just be about growth. It would be about preserving excellence while expanding reach. It would be about proving that you can do things right on a large scale. Marina picked up the phone and called Lucy. "Lou, I need you to get me some good gourmet coffee, those special beans, and a nice gift box." Lucy laughed on the other end. "Did the mechanic fix it?" "He fixed it, and now I'm going to fix his life, even if he doesn't know he needs it yet." A week later, Marina returned to Tiao's auto shop carrying a carefully wrapped gift bag. Inside, a complete gourmet coffee kit from special farms in Minas Gerais, along with a quality French press. So Tiao was working on an old Chevy when she arrived. He wiped his hands and smiled when he saw her. "Ms. Marina, is the car having trouble again?" "No, it's perfect. I came to thank you properly." She held out the bag. So Tiao opened it carefully, and his eyes lit up when he saw the coffee. "My father always said good coffee is a luxury the poor can afford," he murmured, running his fingers over the bags of beans. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." Marina leaned against the workbench. "And I also came with a proposal." So Tiao raised an eyebrow, carefully putting the gift away. "What kind of proposal?" Marina took a deep breath. She had rehearsed this conversation all week. "Do you know what I do, So Tiao? I help companies grow. I analyze processes, identify strengths, create strategies. And looking at you, at this shop, I see something I rarely find: genuine excellence being underutilized." So Tiao frowned. "Underutilized? You have a gift, So Tiao. You solve problems that others consider impossible. But how many people know about it? How many people like me, desperate with a car no one can fix, even hear about you?" He crossed his arms, defensive. "I have my clients. Enough people come through. Neighborhood clients, I imagine. People who have known you for years. But what about those who would pay well, who would value your work, who would wait the 3 days without complaining because they understand quality?" Marina saw the resistance in his eyes and changed tactics. "Let me tell you a story. I have a partner, Robert. We've worked together for 15 years. Last year, his Mercedes started having an intermittent problem. He took it to 5 different places, spent a fortune. No one found anything because the problem only appeared sometimes. He's 1 step away from selling the car. And you want me to look at it? I want you to accept this as a test. I'll refer him to you. If you solve it, I'll refer more people. Not many, I don't want you to lose your essence, but the right people who understand value." So Tiao was silent for a long moment, looking at his grease-stained hands. Ms. Marina, with all due respect, I work the way I work because I'm not in a hurry. If I start serving outsiders people used to speed, they'll complain about my 3 days. Not if I select them correctly. Marina moved closer. Seo Tian, do you think I found you by chance? I was desperate, yes, but I was also willing to wait, to trust, to do things differently. There are more people like that. They just need to know you exist. Seo Tian let out a long sigh. Send your partner here, but no promises. I'll look and see what I can do. Marina smiled. That's all I ask. 2 days later, Robert showed up at the shop with his silver Mercedes, skeptical but curious. Marina had prepared the ground, explained Seo Tian's philosophy, but Robert was a man of numbers and results. So you're the miracle worker, Robert said, not hiding the irony. Seo Tian just nodded. Tell me the problem. Robert explained about the intermittent failure, about how the car would die without warning at random times, about how no computer could detect the pattern. Seo Tian listened in silence, asking specific questions. Then he asked for the keys. 3 days. Leave the car here and come back Friday afternoon. Robert looked at Marina, who nodded encouragingly. All right, but if you don't fix it, I'm not paying for a consultation. I've spent too much on consultations already. You only pay if I fix it, Seo Tian agreed. On Friday, when Robert returned, he found Seo Tian with a small electronic component in his hands. Defective relay, he explained. Works when it's cold, fails when it heats up. That's why it was random. I replaced it, tested the car for 2 days at different temperatures. Problem solved. Robert was speechless. You found that in 3 days? 2, actually. The third was just to be sure. How much? 1,800 reais. Imported part is expensive. Robert laughed, a sound of pure relief. I spent 10,000 on diagnostics that found nothing. You could charge double, and it would still be a bargain. But it's not worth double, Seo Tian said simply. It's worth 1,800. Robert left, converted, and when Robert converted to something, he became an evangelist. Within 2 weeks, 3 new clients from Marina's business circle appeared at the shop. That's when Seo Tian called Marina. Ms. Marina, I need to talk to you. They met at a bakery near the shop. Seo Tian seemed uncomfortable, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Too many people are coming, he began. People with expensive cars, complicated problems. I can't serve everyone the way I like. That's good, Seo Tian. It means your reputation is growing. But I don't want to grow like this. He finally looked at her, and Marina saw fear in his eyes. If I start rushing, doing half-assed work to keep up, I'll become like the others. And then what difference do I make? Marina took his calloused hand across the table. Then don't. Rush. Have you thought about training someone? An apprentice who can learn your way of working? Training takes time. Everything worthwhile takes time, Marina replied, using his own words against him. You said that when you explained why it takes 3 days to diagnose. Seo Tian let out a surprised laugh. Using my words against me, are you? Marina smiled. I'm a consultant. It's what I do. Look, you have 2 options. Close the doors to new clients and stay small, or grow in a controlled way. Train an apprentice, someone young who genuinely wants to learn. You supervise, teach, pass on your values. It's not about doing it faster, it's about having more hands doing it the right way. What if I choose the wrong apprentice? Then you fire them and try again. Seo Tian, you didn't build this reputation by being perfect the first time. You built it by trying until you got it right. He was silent, processing. Do you know anyone who would be interested? I'll have to think, but in the meantime, accept the new clients. Tell them the deadline is 1 week, not 3 days. Give yourself space to maintain quality. 1 week? That's what any shop takes, but you'll deliver better than all of them. Seo Tian reluctantly agreed. Marina paid for the coffees and said goodbye, but before she left, he called her back. Miss Marina, why are you doing this? You've wasted your time coming here, thinking about strategy for me. You don't even charge me for consulting. Marina stopped at the door and looked at him. Because when you fixed my car, you didn't just fix the engine. You reminded me that there are still people who do things for the right reason. And that, Seo Tian, is too rare. to leave hidden in Millionaire'S. In the following weeks, the shop became busy but controlled. Seo maintained his philosophy of meticulous work, only extending the deadlines. And the clients, carefully selected by referral, didn't mind waiting. That's when Marina referred the most important client yet, Dr. Patricia Mendez, Chief Director of St. Luke's Hospital, one of the largest private healthcare institutions in Sao Paulo. Dr. Mendez arrived at the shop in a black Volvo, with the same skeptical posture Robert had had. Tall, elegant, with grey hair pulled back in a perfect bun, she was the type of woman who intimidated effortlessly. "So you're the mechanic everyone is talking about," she said, examining the shop with critical eyes. "My car has an intermittent electrical problem. I've taken it to 3 places." Seo was unfazed. "Intermittent how?" "The dashboard lights flicker randomly. Sometimes the car won't even start. They said I need to replace the entire electrical system. 30,000 reais." "Let me look first. 1 week turnaround." Dr. Mendez hesitated, then handed over the keys. "I hope Marina is right about you." What Seo found was a problem no computer would catch, a stripped wire that touched the bodywork only when the car went over certain specific vibrations. A 5-cent problem that was going to cost 30,000 in unnecessary parts. But it was what happened next that solidified Dr. Mendez's loyalty. When Seo called Dr. Mendez to inform her that the car was ready in just 4 days, she arrived prepared for a high bill. After all, a complex electrical problem requiring replacement of the entire system wouldn't come cheap. What she didn't expect was to find Seo with a serious expression on his face. "Doctor, I need to talk to you before we discuss the car." Dr. Mendez felt her stomach clench. She had seen that expression before on doctors about to deliver bad news. "Did it get worse?" "No, it got better. But there's something you need to know." Seo guided her to a workbench where the damaged wire was isolated as evidence. This was the problem. A stripped wire in a spot where the car's movement made it touch the bodywork sometimes. It caused an intermittent short circuit. 15 centimeters of new wire and proper insulation. Problem solved. Dr. Mendez looked at the wire, then at Seo, processing. "And the 30,000 for a new electrical system? Unnecessary. You were misled. The system is perfect." "But how did they not see this?" "Because they didn't take it apart, doctor. They plugged in the computer, saw an electrical error, and went straight for the most expensive solution. That's what most people do." Dr. Mendez felt a mix of relief and anger. "How much will you charge?" Seo scratched his head, uncomfortable. "The thing is, there's a problem, doctor. I needed to order an original Volvo part. It won't arrive until next week. I put in a temporary wire that works perfectly, but it's not ideal. And I can't leave you without a car for a whole week. So I took my personal car, a 2015 Civic. It's clean, serviced. You can use it until the part arrives." Dr. Mendez was completely speechless. In 20 years of dealing with suppliers, service providers, and all kinds of professionals, never, absolutely never, had someone offered to lend her something personal to keep her satisfied. "You're going to lend me your personal car? It's not fair for you to pay for Uber because of my quality standard. When the part arrives, I'll swap it out and you can pick up yours. For me, I'll just charge for the part and the final labor. 400 reais. Dr. Mendez felt her eyes well up. She, who had built a career being tough, analytical, who never showed emotion in public, was about to cry in a mechanic's shop. "Why are you doing this?" Seo looked at her as if the question made no sense. "Because it's the right thing to do, doctor. You trusted me. I won't let you be out of pocket because of my way of working." In that moment, Dr. Mendez understood why Marina had insisted so much. It wasn't just about technical competence, it was about character. She accepted the loan of the car, and a week later, when she returned to pick up the Volvo, she brought something more than payment. She brought 5 referrals from medical colleagues, all with luxury cars and problems no one had been able to solve. And more importantly, she became a vocal advocate for Seo in her social circle. It was through one of these referrals that the phone call came that would change everything. Marina was in a meeting when Seo called, his voice sounding tense on the phone. Ms. Marina, can you come to the shop? I got a call and I don't know what to do. 20 minutes later, Marina was sitting in the small office attached to the shop, listening to Seo Tiao explain. A guy from the city hall called, said he heard about me through Dr. Mendez, who knows the Secretary of Transportation. They want me to give an estimate for the maintenance of the entire municipal fleet, buses, trucks, school vans, everything. Marina felt her heart race. This was huge, potentially transformative. And you're scared? It wasn't a question. She saw the panic in his eyes. Ms. Marina, I can take care of one car at a time, sometimes two. This is a fleet of 200 vehicles. I don't have the structure, I don't have the team, I don't even have the physical space. It's okay, Marina said calmly. Breathe. Let's think of this as a mechanical problem. Take it apart, look at the pieces, reassemble it. He let out a nervous laugh. Easy for you to say. Marina grabbed a paper and a pen. First, you don't have to accept everything. You can propose starting with part of the fleet, say 20 vehicles. Second, you need help and not just an apprentice. You need a small but well-trained team. I don't know how to build a team, but I do. Marina looked at him. So Tian, you're at the point where you either grow or you lose opportunities. But growing doesn't mean turning into one of those places you despise. It means scaling your philosophy. How? By hiring people who think like you, training them slowly, with patience, starting small and growing only when you're sure the quality is guaranteed. Tian was silent, struggling internally. What if I mess everything up? What if I grow and lose what makes this place special? Marina leaned forward. So Tian, when you fixed my car, you told me you learned from your father, right? Right. And your father learned from his father. Have you passed that knowledge on? Not yet. That's why I need the apprentice. Exactly. And if that apprentice learns properly, he can teach others. That's how you scale without losing your soul. You create a lineage of people who carry the same values. He ran a hand through his grey hair. That's scary, Ms. Marina. Everything worthwhile is scary, Marina smiled. Look, I'll help you. We'll structure a business plan together. You don't have to decide now. Schedule the meeting with the city hall, hear their proposal, and then we decide. You would do that? Help for free again? Who said it's free? Marina winked. You pay in gourmet coffee and in reminding me that there are still people who don't sell their soul for money. The meeting with the city hall happened a week later. Marina accompanied Seo Tiao more as emotional support than as an official consultant. The Secretary of Transportation was a pragmatic man who got straight to the point. Mr. Sebastião, Dr. Mendez gave us your contact. She said you are honest and competent, two rare qualities. Our municipal fleet is a mess. Overpriced contracts, poorly done maintenance, vehicles breaking down all the time. We want something different. Seo Tiao was visibly nervous but responded with honesty. Mr. Secretary, I'll be frank, I've never dealt with a fleet this size. I work alone, carefully, and that's why I take time. I don't know if I can meet what you need. The secretary leaned forward. That's precisely why we want you. We're tired of people who promise speed and deliver garbage. What we propose is this. Start with a portion of the fleet, say the health vehicles, 20 ambulances and vans. If it works, we expand. If it doesn't work, no loss to anyone. Marina saw the opening and intervened delicately. May I make a suggestion? She looked at Seo Tiao, who nodded. How about a 3-month trial period? So Sebastián performs preventive maintenance on these 20 vehicles. You evaluate the quality and savings and then decide about expanding. The secretary smiled. Excellent. Can you prepare the proposal? After the meeting in the parking lot, Seo Tiao was shaking. I don't know how to write a commercial proposal, Ms. Marina. But I do. Marina took the folder. Come to my office next week. We'll put it together. And Seo Tiao? Yes? You just earned the chance to prove that quality isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. In the following days, Marina worked intensely with Seo Tiao. She taught him about profit margins, contracts, and quality clauses. And for the first time, she saw that humble man begin to understand that his talent had real commercial value. When they finalized the proposal, Marina had a revelation. She wasn't just helping a mechanic grow, she was witnessing the birth of something bigger, something that could change an entire sector. And for the first time since her divorce, Marina felt she was building something that went beyond money. She was building a legacy. 6 months passed like a controlled whirlwind. The shop had changed, but not in the way Marina feared. Sotiao had hired 3 young mechanics, all chosen not for experience but for attitude. And each of them was being personally trained, going through the same lessons Su, Tiao's father, had passed down to him. The contract with the city hall had been a resounding success. In 3 months, the breakdown rate of the 20 health vehicles dropped 80%. Sotiao's preventive maintenance identified problems before they happened, saving not only money but lives, as ambulances weren't stalled at critical moments. The Secretary of Transportation had expanded the contract to 50 vehicles, and Sotiao's reputation grew organically, word of mouth, through results that were impossible to ignore. Marina was in her office when Sotiao showed up unannounced, something rare. He never invaded her space without scheduling first. "Ms. Marina, I need to talk to you. It's important." Marina pointed to the chair in front of her glass desk. Sotiao looked different. There was an energy about him that she didn't recognize. It wasn't nervousness. It was almost like purpose. "I've been thinking a lot," he began, looking at his own hands, "about everything that's happened in these months. The shop has grown. The team is learning. The money is coming in. Everything is going right." "That's good," Marina said cautiously. "It is. But it's not enough." Marina tilted her head, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Sotiao stood up and began pacing the room, something totally out of character for his calm, centered self. "Ms. Marina, you changed my life. You showed me that you can grow without losing what matters. But the more I train these boys, the more I realize one thing. The problem isn't just my shop, it's the whole industry." "Go on." "There's an entire generation of mechanics being trained wrong. They learn to swap parts, not to diagnose. They learn to sell service, not to solve problems. They learn to be fast, not to be good." He stopped and looked at Marina with an intensity she had never seen. "I want to change that." Marina felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew that look. It was the same one she saw in the mirror when she had the idea to open her consulting firm. "How?" "I want to open a school. A real mechanics school, not these quick courses that are out there. A place where we teach patience, ethics, deep diagnosis. Where we train mechanics who care about the car, not just the bill." Marina leaned back in her chair, a slow smile forming on her lips. "Have you thought about structure, curriculum, student sourcing?" Mr. James chuckled, a sound of pure self-deprecation. "Marina, I barely know how to read a contract, but I know how to teach mechanics. I know how to pass on what I've learned. And I know that if we don't do this, 20 years from now, there won't be anyone left who works the way I do." Marina stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling city below. "Have you talked to anyone about this?" "I talked to the folks at the local vocational training center. They loved the idea. They said they have the space, the basic structure, but they need someone with real knowledge to lead it. And you want me to help you structure this?" Mr. James approached her, his voice low but firm. "I want more than that, Marina. I want you to be my partner." Marina turned abruptly. "What? I have the technical knowledge. You have the business acumen. Together, we can create something that truly changes lives, not just fixing cars, but training people." Marina felt her heart racing. She had built her consulting firm alone out of pride, out of a need to prove herself. But here was a man offering partnership not out of weakness, but out of mutual recognition of strengths. "Mr. James, this is huge. I need time to think." "I know. That's why I came today, not tomorrow. You have 1 week to think it over. But Marina, there's one thing I need you to know." "What is it?" "I trust you. Not just because you're good at what you do, but because you understand what I value. And you won't let me lose that, just to make a quick buck." Marina felt tears prick her eyes, and fought to hold them back. "I'll think about it carefully, I promise." After Mr. James left, Marina stood looking out at the city for hours. Her consulting firm was doing well, very well. She had important clients, lucrative contracts, a solid reputation. Entering a partnership with a mechanic school was a risk. It was stepping outside her comfort zone. It was betting on something without guarantees. But it was also the opportunity to create something with real meaning. That night, Marina couldn't sleep. She ran spreadsheets, financial projections, and risk analyses. But every time she tried to be rational, she came back to the same question. What did she really want to do with her life? A week later, Marina returned to the repair shop carrying a thick folder. Mr. James was teaching one of the apprentices about engine diagnostics when she arrived. He saw the expression on her face and told the young man to take a break. So, Marina opened the folder on the workbench. I accept the partnership, but on certain conditions. Mr. James swallowed hard. I'm listening. We aren't just opening a local school. We are going to create a National Academy of Mechanical Excellence, a center for training, research, and certification, something that sets a new standard for the entire industry. She pulled documents from the folder. I put together a complete business plan. We start with a pilot headquarters here in the city, partnering with the training center. We offer 3 courses: basic, advanced, and specialization in diagnostics. We charge affordable but not symbolic fees because people value what they pay for. Mr. James was speechless, staring at the documents. In the second year, we open certification for repair shops. Any shop that wants to use our quality seal must pass an audit. And training. We create a standard of excellence that the market can recognize. Marina looked at him. In the third year, we expand to other major cities, but only if the first unit is running perfectly. No rush. Controlled growth, just like you taught me. Mr. James took the documents with trembling hands. This is much bigger than I ever imagined. I know. But if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Not to get rich quick, but to truly change something. She pulled out the last document. Here is the partnership agreement. 50% for each of us. Important decisions require agreement from both. Neither of us can sell our share without offering it to the other first. And most importantly, we have a values clause. If at any point the Academy starts sacrificing quality for profit, either of us can trigger a mandatory review. Mr. James read the document, tears streaming freely down his aged face. Why are you doing this, Marina? You're already successful. You don't need me. Marina took his hand. Remember when you fixed my car and I said you had restored my faith in people who do things the right way? I remember. Well, now I want to be part of creating more people like that. I want that 10 years from now, when someone takes their car in for repair, they find a mechanic who was trained by us, who learned that quality matters more than speed. Mr. James wiped his tears with the back of his hand. When do we start? Marina smiled. Tomorrow. But today we celebrate. I brought champagne. As they toasted right there in the shop, surrounded by tools and the smell of grease, Marina was certain she was making the right choice. Maybe not the most profitable choice, but the choice that would make her wake up every day with purpose. 2 weeks later, they held their first meeting with the vocational training center. The director, a woman named Celia, listened to the entire proposal with growing attention. This is exactly what the neighborhood needs, she finally said. When can we start? Marina and Mr. James exchanged a look. 3 months, they answered in unison. And that's how, in a simple room, at a community center in a humble suburb, the National Academy of Mechanical Excellence took its first steps. Not with fanfare or million-dollar investments, but with 3 people who believed it was possible to do things differently. 18 months later, Marina stood on the stage of the newly inaugurated auditorium of the National Academy of Mechanical Excellence, looking out at an audience of 80 people. The first graduating class, wearing blue jumpsuits identical to Mr. James's, waited anxiously for the certification ceremony. Beside her, Mr. James looked uncomfortable with so much attention, but his eyes shone with pride. Those 80 young people had gone through 9 intense months of training, not just technical, but ethical. Every one of them had learned that being a mechanic wasn't just about replacing parts, but about taking care of the most precious asset many families owned. Marina adjusted the microphone and began her speech. 2 years ago, my car broke down. It felt like the end of the world. 8 specialists told me it was impossible to fix, but then a brave assistant pointed me toward a humble mechanic in the city, a man who saw cars as individuals, not as standardized problems. She looked at Mr. James, who nodded shyly. That mechanic didn't just fix my car, he changed my life, he taught me that. Excellence isn't about technology or expensive certifications. It's about character, patience, and doing the right thing even when no one is watching. The audience applauded. And today, 80 of you graduate carrying those values. You are the proof that we can change an entire sector, one person at a time. When she finished, Mr. James took the microphone. His voice was shaky but firm. My father taught me that a good mechanic listens more than he talks. So I'll be brief. You've learned everything I know. Now the responsibility to pass that on is yours. Treat every car like it belongs to your mother. Treat every client like they're your neighbor, and never ever choose speed over quality. The ceremony was moving, but the truly defining moment came afterward, when the graduates' families approached to thank them personally. A white-haired woman hugged Marina tightly. My grandson was lost before he came here. Now he has a profession, dignity, and a future. Thank you for believing in them. Marina had to fight back tears. After the ceremony, while they were tidying up the auditorium, Mr. James pulled Marina aside. I need to tell you something I've never told anyone. Marina stopped, stacking chairs. What is it? When you first showed up at my shop, I almost turned down the job. Why? Because I saw the same desperation on your face that I had seen on mine many years ago, and I knew that if I failed, I would destroy the last hope you had. Marina felt a tightness in her chest. You never told me that story. Mr. James sat down in one of the chairs, looking up at the ceiling. 25 years ago, I had a bigger shop, a partnership with my brother. We wanted to grow fast, make money, compete with the big guys. And in the middle of that rush, we started cutting corners. Quick diagnostics, knockoff parts, shoddy work. He took a deep breath. Until one day, a mother brought in the school van her kids rode in. She said it was making a noise. I took a quick look, said it was normal, and sent her away. 3 days later, the van flipped. The brake system failed. Thank God no one was seriously hurt, but 5 kids went to the hospital. Marina covered her mouth with her hand. It wasn't directly my fault, but if I had looked properly, I would have seen the brakes were worn beyond safe limits. I could have prevented it. Mr. James looked at Marina with teary eyes. I closed the big shop the next day. I ended the partnership with my brother. I opened that little shop in the suburb and made a promise. I would never rush a diagnosis again. I would never put profit before safety. And I lived 20 years like that, small and honest, because it was the only way I could sleep in peace. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because I was ashamed, but ashamed. Now seeing these 80 kids leave here with the right values, I feel like I've finally paid my debt. Marina knelt beside his chair. Mr. James, you turned a mistake into a purpose. That's not shame. That's redemption. He took her hand. And you helped me get here. Not just with the business plan or the contacts. You believed that an old mechanic from the suburbs could change something. Marina smiled through her tears. I didn't just believe in you. I recognized you. Because you reminded me who I wanted to be. They stayed there in silence, 2 survivors of their own battles, now partners in something bigger than themselves. 3 months later, the academy received an illustrious visit. The Secretary of Education wanted to see the project that was revolutionizing technical training in the city. He arrived accompanied by aides, cameras, and high expectations. Marina and Mr. James received him not in the auditorium, but in the workshop school, where students from the 2nd class were working on real diagnostics. Secretary, Marina said, our philosophy is simple. Learning by doing, but doing it right. Every student here spends 9 months training not just technique, but ethics and attitude. The secretary watched a 20-year-old carefully dismantling an engine, taking detailed notes. And does it work? Our graduates have a 95% employment rate within 3 months, Mr. James replied, and the shops that hire them report a reduction in errors and an increase in customer satisfaction. The secretary was impressed, so much so that before leaving he made a proposal that left Marina and Mr. James speechless. We want to replicate this model nationally to create a quality certification program for mechanics technical schools across the country. And we want you to lead it. Marina looked at Mr. James, who looked back. In their eyes was the same question. Are we ready for this? We need time to think, Marina said diplomatically. This is much bigger than we imagined. I understand, but don't take too long. America needs this. That night, Marina and Mr. James sat in the small room that was now the Academy's office. The secretary's proposal lay on the table, tempting and terrifying at the same time. We dreamed small, didn't we? Mr. James said with an ironic smile. Just a little school in the suburbs. And look where we ended up. Marina flipped through the proposal. James, if we accept this, there's no turning back. We'll be setting standards for the entire country. He was silent for a long moment. Remember when you asked me if I was afraid of growing and losing the soul of the work? I remember. I still have that fear. But now I know I'm not alone. You're here to remind me what matters. And we trained 80 people who will remind 80 more. And so it goes. Marina felt a warmth in her chest. So we accept? Mr. James extended his hand. We accept. But on our terms. No rush, no cutting corners, no sacrificing what we believe in. Marina shook his hand, sealing once again the partnership that had started with a broken engine and transformed into a movement for change. 6 months later, the Academy of Mechanical Excellence had become a national reference, 5 units in different states, 200 graduates per year, and more importantly, a measurable change in the quality of mechanical service in the regions where the Academy operated. Marina was in her office when she received a call from Lucy, her former assistant. Marina, you won't believe this. Remember that BMW that broke down 3 years ago? How could I forget? It broke down again, but this time I took it to a mechanic near my house, a young guy, super attentive. You know what he did? What? He disassembled the engine piece by piece, found the problem, and fixed it in 3 days. And when I went to pay, he showed me a certificate on the wall, National Academy of Mechanical Excellence. Marina felt tears of joy. Lucy, do you know what that means? It means we did it. We actually changed something. Marina hung up and looked out the window. Below, the city buzzed as always. But now, scattered throughout the metropolis, there were mechanics who carried a different philosophy, who treated every car with respect, every client with dignity, every problem as a mystery to be solved with patience. She picked up the phone and called James. James, I just got the best news. She told him about Lucy. On the other end of the line, she heard the deep, comforting laugh of the man who had changed her life by fixing an engine. You know, Marina, I've fixed engines my whole life, but the best repair I ever made was when I fixed yours, because that's where it all began. Marina smiled, looking at the framed photo on her desk. Her and James on the day of the Academy's inauguration, surrounded by the first students, all with that smile of people who believe they can change the world. And they had changed it, one engine at a time, one person at a time, proving that excellence was not incompatible with growth, that profit didn't have to come before character, and that sometimes the most improbable partnerships create the most lasting legacies. End of story. If Marina and Mr. James's journey warmed your heart and made you believe that there are still people who do the right things for the right reasons, you are not alone. We have many more inspiring stories of overcoming challenges, partnership, and transformation waiting for you. Hit the like button if this story touched your soul, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next emotional narratives, and tell us in the comments, what was the moment that stood out most to you in this journey? Was it when Marina found hope in the humble repair shop, or when Mr. James revealed his past and his redemption? Share your thoughts, because every comment motivates us to bring more stories that celebrate the best of the human spirit. See you in the next story.